Well, here we are again, episode 2. Jam, it's good to be back.
Excellent. I mean, awesome to be back. Second episode. We must be doing something right.
Yeah, definitely. We had great feedback from all our listeners, both positive and also constructive, which is great. You know, helps us
Yeah.
get better and grow the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so there's surprisingly many feedback, and thank you so much for giving us those constructive feedback. So we wanted to improve this podcast and need to be useful as well. So we wanted to continue to talk about our story, as well as we want to get some guests involved and talk about their story, how their story, and then what the success mean to them,
Yep.
and some of we want to explore more on those success ingredients. That's the whole idea that we are here.
Absolutely. And if any of our listeners have anyone they would love to hear on the podcast, or anyone in their network that they think they could connect us to have on the podcast, it would be greatly appreciated if you could put us in touch.
Yeah, we have big plans. We got a list of Dylan and I put together a list of people that we could invite, and we already invite few of them, but we got really, really big people that we wanted to. Very exciting list of people, and I'm sure that you will love to hear their names. But we are still working. I mean, we need to get this going for a little longer, I guess. Build some credibility before we invite those kind of A-listers.
Yeah.
But we are working on it, and only we can go further with your feedback and helping us to grow this podcast.
Yeah. And so I suppose...
So what are we going to talk about today, Dylan? Shall we? Because it's about us at this stage, and before we move into others. So something that I wanted to ask you. So you've been working at Snowy for about 14 months?
Yeah, about that, just over, yeah.
Yeah. And then you went to Stanford for 2 months stint there at Stanford, and you didn't even consult any of us. You decided it's time to, do my own thing and send them the resignation letter. So what's that crucible moment? What makes you decide, and you're so sure about leaving work and doing your own thing? Can we talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think before, I have to take a few steps back.
Yeah.
I think before leaving to go to Stanford, I really enjoyed the job. But I think I realized that engineering wasn't really what I thought it was. I always envisaged engineering as the more creative and innovative side. Whereas it was a lot more bedded down design work and paperwork and things like that, which is fine. But I was chasing that more creative aspect.
And hands-on as well, because you're a hands-on guy.
Yeah, well, I think it's just being able to come up with this vision of what you want to make and then actually go out and make it, I think is what I thought it was. And so, after a few, probably 6 or 8 months, I realized that it wasn't going to be what I expected it to be. And I suppose when you're this early on in your career, it's not so easy just to settle and just go, okay, well, this is not what I really want to do, but I'll just do it for the rest of my life anyway. That's kind of not really how I think. And so going over to Stanford, I kind of had a bit of an idea that I wanted to pursue other avenues as well, or at least try other avenues first, to see what they were like. And going over to Stanford definitely opened my eyes. I think just being surrounded by that caliber of person who is incredibly passionate and driven by an idea that they're working on, something that they're growing, and it's just come from a thought from them.
Yeah.
And then they're growing it and are working day in, day out on that. And being surrounded by those type of people really fuels you and motivates you.
Yeah.
And I think seeing seeing the like startup culture and people bringing ideas to life, it made me go, oh, that's actually what I thought engineering was.
Yeah.
Like being an inventor, I
Yeah.
suppose. And then I realized that's kind of what a startup founder is.
Yeah.
It's like you
create.
you see a problem and you turn it into an idea, and then you create and you solve people's problems.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I think seeing that was a big turning point, because it had kind of fulfilled what I wanted.
Yeah. Like, do you have any examples, like, some of the stuff that you've seen when you're there? Like, not just Stanford. I know you spend quite a lot of time in Silicon Valley with a few of your mates, and you met a lot of VCs. And any moment you realize this is it, this is the guy that I want to be. Like you talked about, you went to a few seminars and things like that, but there must be a one moment you realize, wow, this is me. This is the guy that I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many, but I think I got the opportunity to go up and stay with one of my close high school friends, and he has started his own startup and works in like a co-working space with a bunch of other founders. And I went and spent a few weekends there actually, and just being in that space, surrounded by other people who are like building right next to you.
Yeah.
And I remember just like taking off my headphones and just like hearing what other people were working on, like all of these crazy new AI startups and all of these different things, and just like the atmosphere there.
Yeah.
Everyone was just like walking around. Oh, hey man, how's it going? Like, oh, how's
Energy,
this build?
energy.
Yeah, everyone is like so energetic and like hyped for each other as well. And I think like there especially, I was like, man, wouldn't it be great to be in like this sort of environment like every day?
Yeah, yeah. Do you see any common, between all these founders, like or the people that trying to create new things, and anything that you saw? That's the kind of a personality that I wanted to be like. I mean,
I feel like a lot of them, like, they have to go out on a limb.
Yeah.
Like it is a risk, obviously, starting something of your own. And a lot of these people, especially the people I met, were mainly in software.
Yeah.
And so they could go to the big tech companies and get insane salaries, $300,000-400,000 US. But instead, they're working for themselves and trying to build this idea, but it's because they have the vision of what they want to make.
Yeah.
So I think, having the self-belief, I think is a big thing. And then also just, it's really work ethic. Like sometimes in that same office that I was talking about, people would be there at like 10 p.m. at night, and then you'd come back in the morning and people would be there, 6-7 o'clock in the morning. And so just like consistent work, and really having that drive, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you raised two great points. One is you're talking about the scalability, right? Like these guys, they could easily get a job and work in a very comfortable zone, like and making loads of money. But then these guys are quite different, right? They decide not to going that normal path and creating that new things and game changers, change the world. That's the kind of a mentality they have, right? So that's very interesting point. And then second thing that you mentioned, these guys are visionary, right? They can see something.
Yeah.
There's something coming, and so I mean, I wanted to explore a little bit more on that, right? So I mean, if you're looking at scalability, as a father, I mean, my father and my mom told me, we talked about that last time. If you wanted to be successful, we need to get a good job and, become a doctor or engineer and accountant or you name it, like a lawyer. That kind of profession give you that comfort, that give you that success, right? But, going through this journey, I realizing that's totally the wrong advice. I mean, even, like me and Michelle, like us, we also want you to be engineers and doctors. Not necessarily we want to be. We kind of encourage you. I mean, Naomi is a doctor, right? So when you really look at a doctor, like, everyone have that perception saying, if you're a doctor, you're set, right? But the thing is, when you become a doctor, your scalability, you're relying on you, right?
Yeah.
If you're sick, or if you decide, well, I want to take a year off, your income will go down to zero.
Yeah.
You can't multiply yourself unless you start your own practice, or you multiplying practice. So again, you're going to business world, right? So probably, if you really think of, your growth is limited when you become a professional person,
Yeah.
unless you have that business mindset to grow. So in a way, right? So people telling how your son or daughter to be a doctor, lawyer, you're kind of limiting yourself, unless they have a bigger vision, right? They have a bigger vision. So this is why it's so important as well, having a big vision that you can visualize. Yeah, you can be a doctor, but I want to be a doctor. There's 2,000 doctors going to report to me, or like I'm going to create a hospital like one day. So unless you have a bigger vision and having that kind of a profession, to me now, I see it's actually limiting yourself. So you're going out of your comfort zone, it's, rather than working as an engineer for rest of your life, you can still do engineering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You can still be an engineer. You can still create stuff, but your own way, your own way, and then you can scale,
Yeah. I think like also it really depends on personality, right?
Yeah.
And your appetite for risk.
Yeah.
Because if you are okay with that trade-off, that your wealth is linked to your time, then like, having a stable job is probably the best thing for you.
Yeah.
But, as you said, if you can't make it to work or whatever, then you're not going to make any money. And so like it really weighs up on your risk appetite.
Yeah.
And I think people need to kind of sit down and think about which one they want. Because someone told me while I was over there, if me telling you that you shouldn't be a startup founder like stops you from being a founder, then that's a good thing, because you shouldn't have been a founder in the first place.
Yeah.
Like if someone just telling you, oh, don't be a founder, will stop you, then like you probably didn't have the drive that it takes to be a founder in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think it's really like personality based.
Yeah. And that having that persistence, like never give up kind of attitude. I mean, again, when I start my own business, I mean, seriously, I went to business. As I said, multiple business I started, but then I thought, this is it. I'm going to focus fully. And you guys were so young, right? So even I want to take risk. It's a hard one. Like you in your life, like right now, you're in a different stage altogether, right? So you're just turned 23. You don't have huge commitment, but again, having that discipline, because end of the day, your time is your, it's valuable, right?
Yeah.
So you can't get that time back. You won't get that 23-year-old Dylan back again, right? So this is a opportunity that you have that you need to capitalize, get the maximum out of it. You don't want to sit back and relax and waiting things to happen. You need to make things happen. So having that discipline, having that framework, and this is why it's so important. We talked many times about vision. So having a clear vision, and you can. So again, vision is a very important thing, because vision is about visualizing thing in the future, right? So we both read the book Be Useful, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. You want to talk about a little bit about Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, so like I suppose when I think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think of the Terminator.
Yeah.
But this book is actually really good because it delves into like another side of him that most people probably don't know about. And like it really shows his drive and how important having a vision, a clear vision is.
Yeah.
And so like the whole first chapter is just about vision. And, you know, for a small boy coming from Austria, a very, fairly poor family, and just for him to create this vision when he first saw a documentary about America, and he saw, you know, the flashy cars, the flashy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And his vision was straight away, I want to get there.
Yeah.
But then, you know, okay, that's great. I want to get there.
Dreamland.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
And then later on, he saw a poster, I think, or a documentary about Reg Park, who was a famous bodybuilder.
Hercules, right?
Yeah, he turned Hercules and an actor. And when he saw that, he was just like, he could visualize himself as Reg Parks.
Yeah.
And he saw that as his ticket to get to America.
Yeah.
So to complete his his
so
vision.
Reg Parks is a Mr. Universe, right?
Yeah.
So he's a very muscly guy. So Arnold thought, well, if I wanted to go to US and I want to be like him, he's an actor, he's a star. I want to be like him. Only way that I get there, I need to become muscly like Mr. Universe.
Yeah.
So that's how he created that vision. So the vision is he wants to go to America. He wants to be the main leading actor in a Hollywood, and so the mission is kind of a steps towards to that vision, right? So then he knew that he need to become the Mr. Universe, and then so he progressed through that mission to get to his vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a great story because when you have a clear vision, what really creates you move away from your distractions, right? So if you look at again the Arnold's story, so when he became the Mr. Universe, he got invited to become the brand ambassador for a gym franchise.
Yeah.
But he always look at his visualize his dream, his vision, leading actor in Hollywood. So if he go that kind of outside his path, and he knew that it's gonna distract him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He has one line in there where he says like, every time you face an opportunity, you need to go back and ask yourself, is this getting me closer or further away from my vision?
Yeah.
And so like I think that's the perfect example of it. You know, it was taking him more down the weightlifting kind of path.
Yeah.
Whereas where he wanted to go, he had already made it as a weightlifter, right? So his next progression for him was to go into acting.
Yeah.
And so this was kind of a deviation from that. And so when he asked himself that question, he said, no, it's not getting me closer.
Yeah.
It's taking me to a different path. So no, I'm not going to take it. I want to stay on my path to the vision.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys have time, we would highly recommend to get this book and read, be useful. And you really appreciate the guy, that his focus that he had throughout the years to get to where he wants to go. And I mean, there's multiple books that we read about the vision. The challenge that I see, it's about our education system, right? Because vision is, to me, it's about having be able to dream. So if you are a founder, you are normally, to create something, you need to have a vision. You need to have a dream. So you will see things that others won't see. Like, I mean, many case studies, right? We can talk about Airbnb, for example. Uber, for example. Whoever thought someone's gonna stay in someone's house, like it would become the biggest hotel franchise in the world, right? And whoever thought someone's gonna go in someone else's car,
stranger's car. Stranger's gonna come and pick you up, and you'll feel safe doing that.
Yeah. I mean, so when these guys came up with this idea, many people refused to invest in those ideas, right? People thought these guys are crazy. So, but those founders, they had a vision. They actually saw what's happening and what's happening today, right?
Yeah.
And talking about visionary people, like now we're talking to, we're looking at Elon Musk, right? Some people think he's crazy, but he can visualize people in Mars, colonies, people in Mars, and so he's working towards to that vision, right? So I mean, it's amazing thing, right? So the problem that we have our education system, right? And when you're a dreamer, people get discouraged. Like young kids get discouraged. Don't dream. Study books, study maths, English, whatever. Focus on education. So to me, yes, those are important ingredients. You need to learn basic maths. You need to learn to communicate well, etc. But the fundamental thing is missing is that be able to dream, right? And I find every day, I struggle with people sometimes. I mean, as a founder, like an entrepreneur, I just can close my eyes and visualize things. I mean, I think people are wired differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I think it's like, it comes from the more creative aspect, as you kind of said. Like, as we age, we kind of get taught to become more logical and less creative. And I think if we can foster that creative spirit among people.
Yeah, I think one big challenge also is the social media, right? We are addicted to our devices. We are looking at our phones, etc. Like we always wanted to engage with something. We don't have that me time. You're spending more time with yourself, and be able to talk to yourself. That's how you create kind of a dreams, right? Like that's how your creativity grow. Unfortunately, today we can't stay 2 seconds without having your phone next to you, right?
Yeah, you see that like even dinner.
Yeah.
You go out for dinner.
Yeah.
As soon as the conversation goes quiet for 2 seconds, the
Yeah.
first thing everyone does is reach for their phone. It's like instinctual now.
Yeah.
Because we're just like so used to being constantly engaged, and our attention. It's really is the attention economy nowadays. And I think by doing that, having every second of our life filled, we don't have those quiet times where it's just us thinking.
Yeah.
And then when we have that, our brain is actually engaged.
Yeah.
And we're thinking and being more divergent and creative.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like ideas really come from.
Yeah. So, Dylan, I mean, we've gone through a bit of a outside from your Stanford experience. So, let us, let everyone know, like, bit your course and who actually went onto this course. And I can talk about a little bit of Harvard experience as well, because I want you to go and join either Stanford or Harvard or one of the Ivy League schools, because I knew the experience that you're gonna get is quite unique, right?
Yeah.
And because I gone through the similar kind of experience myself, and I'm still going through that, and it's probably journey is a little bit different to yours, because I think our audience are like the participants are quite different in a different level. But if anybody interested in doing that kind of a course, or some of my mates ask about your course because they would like their kids to go to that course, so maybe give a little bit more about the overall.
Definitely.
Yep.
So I went and did the Stanford Ignite part-time course. So Stanford Ignite is essentially an executive education program which is focused on teaching the framework to take an idea from 0 to 1. And so doing the part-time course, I had class 3 days a week, which I think actually turned out to be a good thing for me, because I got to, go and work hard at Stanford, but then I also got time to kind of take in the real Silicon Valley experience. And so, the course brought together participants from all over the world, and then also a lot of Stanford students as well. So postgraduates and all of that. So it was a good mix of people, like very theoretical, technical postdocs, and then also working professionals from around the world. And I think that's good, having that kind of diverse mix, because you bring a lot of different perspectives to the table, and going into the course, everyone pitched an idea,
Yeah.
and then slowly through voting,
Yeah.
the ideas got whittled down to a select 10 or 12 ideas, and they became the group projects that we worked on
Yeah.
throughout the course. So yeah, we would go to class, we would learn a topic, and then the idea was we would go away, and in our groups we would try and implement that into our project, and ultimately it culminated with a pitch at the end to
Yeah.
a panel of real VCs, just to get feedback from them and understand how they sort of think. And so yeah, it was an incredible experience, just even being in the Stanford environment. And I think for me, I was so used to university here, where
Yeah.
it was very much just a lecturer talking off the slides.
Yep.
Whereas there, I'd heard you talk about it when you
Yeah.
came back from
Yeah.
Harvard.
Yeah.
But I didn't really understand it. But being there, the professors are so engaging. And I remember you said it's like a performance, and now
Yeah,
I understand
they are
it, because
performers.
it is really a show.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing to see, like stepping back, you can see they know exactly where they want the
Yep.
class to get to,
Yeah.
but they don't just want to tell you.
Yeah, and it's not direct what you see, right?
No,
You
no.
think, okay, end results, we're going to talk about this case study, and this is where we're going to go, but end up in totally different place,
Yeah.
right? It's amazing.
And so they know where they want you to go,
Yeah,
but then they take a few steps back and ask like really leading questions to the audience. And then someone will answer this.
yeah,
And then they'll work off that to get you to the next step. And
Yeah.
then they'll ask another question. And so ultimately it feels like you've gotten there.
yeah.
But
Yeah, yeah.
realistically,
Yeah, they're driving
they're
it.
the ones who got you there. And so I think that, our class was from 6 till 9 p.m. at night. So it's an incredibly hard time to teach.
Yeah.
But they did a fantastic job. And
Yeah.
you would leave those classes feeling so
Yeah.
energetic and like, wow.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think the content was incredible and so like congested. I remember we finished one finance lecture and the professor goes, well, congratulations, you basically did one semester of an MBA like finance in
yeah, yeah.
3 or 5 hours or
Yeah.
something. So I think it was so much information, and I think an important thing for me was going back afterwards and really summarizing it, because it's such a condensed amount of information.
Yeah, yeah.
You really have to go back and make sure you
Yeah,
really-
and you done really well as well. You're summarizing and also publishing. So if anyone interested in finding more about what Dylan's key learnings from Stanford, you can go to dylan.pathirana.com and you can go to his blog and view them. I mean, what you done is fantastic. You summarize quite well. That's another point that this executive learning, right? So there's I could encourage you to go and do an MBA, or you could go and do another degree in one of these universities, right? But I encourage you more to do executive learning, because it's also two different ways, right? So if you're thinking of, I want to climb the ladder, I want to go and work for an organization, one day I want to become the CEO of an organization, it's worthwhile having an MBA. Now, this is, again, my opinion. But if you're thinking of, I'm purely doing this for my own learning, and I'm gonna become my own, like, owner of the business, like doing my own things, I think the fastest way to learn is executive learning.
Yeah, and I think it gives you that, it's like a little taster.
Yeah.
Because, we were surrounded by, a lot of MBA students and things like that, and we got to meet some of them. And so you kind of see what they're working on and compare it to what you're doing. And, a very high level, we're doing a lot of the similar sort of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so it's like a real taste test.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, I'm still not sure if this is exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm in that kind of trial phase.
Yeah.
So just having that quick, rather than investing 2 years of my life into something that maybe I won't do, get this quick taste test.
Yeah.
And really see.
I mean, that's probably why many founders like Zuckerberg and all of them, they started their MBA and then drop out, because then they realize it's taking too long and it's slowing down their growth as
Yeah.
well. So I think that this is the reason I think executive learning are actually getting like more popular than doing a degree, because even if you go into a job these days, no one really, I mean, I don't hire people based on their qualification. Qualification is good, but I hire them from like their attitude and their skills, right? So this is why you can learn from executive learning, so I guess my experience at Harvard was a little bit different to your Stanford experience, but end of the day it's a similar kind of
Yeah.
outcome. So I, before I did the owner president management course, I started I did a course at Harvard before, in 2017, called Launching New Ventures. So that's how I got into Ivy League experience, and so again, it's a very similar course to what you done in Ignite, Stanford Ignite. It was all about, so we had about 75 people from 25 countries. The business owners, mainly business owners. So we had all entrepreneurs, except there's few entrepreneurs as well. So they're actually working in a very large organization, but their role is to create things within that in that organization. So it's a similar kind of experience. It's a shorter course, but it's a full-on, like, we are living on campus, and it was a great experience. But that time I realized the real course that I want to do is Owner President Management, OPM. It's a executive MBA type course, and it's going for over 2 years. So we had 3 sessions on campus. We're going there for 3 weeks for three times. So I've done 2 already, and then we are going again this October, and kind of we are completing our course in October. An amazing experience. I had in my course we had 170 business owners from 40 different countries, and then the wealth of experience and the knowledge. I mean, combined, these guys have over 250,000 employees
Wow.
in their teams, and then their annual revenue, apparently, I mean, again, I don't know, these are the real facts, I mean, this is what we were talking about in the course, something like the 82nd GDP in the world or something
Wow.
like that. It combined these 170 people. And so it was an amazing experience. And again, similar kind of a teaching. The quality of academic staff it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Next level. They're all showmen, show people, right? Like, when I say show people, they know how to get everything out of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They know how to get things out of you, like, so, because sometimes, when someone asks a question, you only give you the answer, just the surface, right answer. Because, you're always personally worried how this is going to look. We always think when we're giving an answer, is that going to look okay, look bad, etc., right? But these professors know, asking, more questions to get more out of you, right? So this is the beauty. But more than what we learn from that course, I quite like the what we learn from each other, because all these people, and again, and Harvard, for example, they also learn so much from us, because that experience that we bringing into discussions, into our classroom, it's create a lot of information, right? Because it's different perspective, coming from different backgrounds, different level of business, and the learnings, it's not just one way. It's there's an opportunity to learn, even for Harvard, to learn from us. So it's experience is magical, and also the relationship that we build over the years, it's unbelievable. And for example, my network is like next level, right? So it's gone from just Australia to a couple of countries that I had. Now it's global. So
Yeah. No, I would definitely say the same thing. going there and meeting all of these incredibly talented people from all over the world, and even in just a short 2 months, we built such a strong bond, and I know now there's a few countries that I can definitely go to, and I will have a home there, and I think that's a great thing. But I wanted to go back to something you said. You're surrounded by incredibly
Yep.
successful, or the traditional definition of success, and these huge companies. And I'm not trying to take anything away from you, but compared to you, these people are, are way further down the line.
Yeah,
right?
I don't even, sometimes I feel like, do I really belongs here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I wanted to understand, because for me it was a similar thing.
Yeah.
I was just a young undergrad guy coming along to a course with all these incredible, some already founders and postdocs. I wanted to understand your experience, like being the kind of dumbest person in the room, to say.
Yeah, I was the dumbest person in the room. I mean, we know, right? That's the smartest thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? Being the dumbest person in the room is the smartest thing to do, because there's a learning. You can learn from everybody, right? So when you're smartest the guy, you can't learn much, right? I can still learn, but you know more than everybody, right? But there's no such a thing called you're the smartest guy in the room. It's always you can learn. But being the dumbest guy, or the guy that open up to learning, right, from such an amazing group of people, is a privilege. You won't get that unless you like associate with a course like that.
Yeah.
So that's where it's kind of a magic created, right? So there's so much to learn. You feel like, and you don't want to even go to bed, like sleep, like no downtime. I want to spend 24 hours on those 3 weeks. You wanted to talk to people, more people. You don't want to even no downtime. Just want to keep talking to these people, and there's so much to learn from learn from each other, right? So, and really enjoy it, and this is the interesting thing that I also found, right? But I mean, some of these people are amazingly successful, right? It's beyond even imagination, like what they're doing, and how successful these people are. But then when you really talk to these people, they're very, it's you. There's no difference to you, right? They are like another guy, like make that effort to get out of that comfort zone and trying to create. But the difference between me and them, probably they start thinking in a bigger way, right? It's about the mindset, having that, you're limiting your. I mean, this is the thing. We are equally. I don't consider we born to this world unequally. Like, if someone can do it, I can do it as well. We are quite equal, right? But what's not equal, it's you. You're limiting yourself. Like, you think, oh, that's all I can do. Then your growth is limited by you. No one else. I mean, these guys, some of the amazing people, like, they even they came from small countries. They realized for them to grow, they need to go to US, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, because that's a bigger market. So they're going out from their own country, the country that they're born, and then go into a bigger market and then build a bigger business. And so, sometimes, you're in the comfort zone. You think, okay, this is where my country, I'm very comfortable doing what I'm doing, so I want to grow into the country that I live in, not like going outside and doing stuff. But people made that effort. Obviously, they are more successful than you. So it's just that mindset, so this is why you start realizing, it's nothing stopping you grow bigger. Only thing is stopping you is you. How you think. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think I saw a similar thing as well. Like, it really is the mindset. At the end of my experience, I was trying to really take a step back and think about what it is about Silicon Valley that makes it so special.
Yeah.
Because, like, to be honest with you, the place itself is like, nothing special. And I think it comes down to that mindset of, Stanford is a culmination of very intellectual people, and a large percentage of them are dreamers.
Yeah.
And, they have that mindset that they want to create something.
Yeah.
And I think it's also because they've been exposed to so many other people who have done it. Like you said, there's been so many unicorns come out, like $1 billion businesses come out of Silicon Valley. And so because they've been exposed to that, they can see that that's happened from other people just like them. Yeah. Then it really like boosts their confidence that if they can do it, I can do it. And I think I had kind of, similar experience when I got to go to a talk by Jensen Huang, the founder of NVIDIA, $1 trillion chip manufacturer. Yeah. And just being, I think I was in the second or third row, and just being so close to someone who, I idolize, I see as a very successful person. You almost have that kind of light bulb moment of seeing them in person and seeing, wow, this is just another guy. Yeah. And then, it really brings up that same thing, as you said. If he can do it, why can't I? Yeah. And I think that's such a special like thing to come to the conclusion of.
Yeah. I mean, many people, know about celebrities and things like that. Like, people, we all wants to hang out with celebrities, get their autograph. But when you know these people, you realize, man, they are just not another ordinary person, like there's nothing. They are amazing people, but there's nothing like they're wired in a different way, or they created in a different way. They are like us.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, but when I was at that talk, I sent you a picture. Yeah. Because in the front row, I saw Roloff Botha, the managing partner at Sequoia, and we both listened to his podcast. Yeah. Crucible Moments. Yeah. Would definitely recommend. And I sent you a picture, and I remember you sent back, go and talk to him. Yeah. And I remember thinking at that time, no way, like, this guy is, worth so much. He's probably got so much on his plate. Why would he ever want to talk to me? Yeah. And as I was leaving, I thought to myself, Dylan, how many times are you ever in this opportunity? A, being in Stanford, and B, being surrounded by, this type of caliber of people. And so I was like, what the hell? And so I turned back around and walked over and introduced myself to him. And I was honestly really expecting him to just go, oh, yeah, hey, and then walk away. But, he shook my hand. He had a good conversation with me. He's South African, so he made fun of me from being Australia and the Springbok Wallabies rivalry. And just leaving there, I had a totally greater appreciation of what you're saying. It's like, at the end of the day, these people we idolize, they're humans too. They want human connection. They want to get to know people, and that was such honestly a pivotal moment for me as well, because I was like, wow. Yeah.
I had the opportunity to meet so many celebrities over the years, right? Like, and people that people idealize, and then like more you talk to, you realize, they're just like us. There's nothing different, and and it's kind of realize, you are your own rights. You are a celebrity, you can do everything that everybody else doing it, right? So talking about doing, Dylan, so now going back to our initial question, that you decide, well, this is the time for me to do my own thing. So you make that call, and you are 100% sure about that call, because you didn't even consult, us. You decided to write a resignation letter to your company, and so make that big decisions, right? So it's amazing because I mean I was so proud of when you did that, because I knew that's the right thing to do, because you won't get this 23-year age again, right?
Yeah.
If you don't try this one day when you're like 50, like my age, you will regret it, right?
Yeah.
If you don't do it, so which is fantastic. But also, you must have a great idea, right? Can we talk about what you're currently working on? What's the project, and how do you visualize it? Like, what's your vision of your project?
Yeah, sure. So I started a company called LenderCon, and it's a community-based equipment rental platform. And so essentially what that means is I'm trying to build the circular economy for things that we have lying around our garage.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I have a lot of tools, and I know that you hate that. There's so many things in the garage because, when I have a project, I would go out and buy, a cheap, low quality tool just to fulfill the job. And then now it just sits in the garage. But coming from a more sustainability perspective, that doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
Because as consumers, we're incentivized to go and do that sort of thing. It's so cheap for us to buy really low quality products that it kind of makes sense for us to do that. When we need something, we go and we buy a cheap, low quality thing. And, this is incentivizing a lot of wasteful use of products. And so I'm trying to build a more like rental system where if I need something, I can go and rent it from someone in my community.
Yeah.
Because, I might have a really good lawnmower.
Yeah.
And the guy next door to me, he isn't that big on mowing his lawn. So might mow, once a month.
Yeah.
Right. And so for him, it doesn't really make sense
Yeah.
to buy a lawnmower.
Yeah.
And so for him, he would be happy to pay a little bit to rent my really good one.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, okay, yeah, I might mow, twice a week because I love it.
Yeah.
But there's, still a few days in the week where it's just sitting there idle.
Yeah.
And so if I could rent it out to someone in my community, then I'm getting extra money and I can pay off that tool as well.
Yeah. It's like a share economy kind of a thing. I mean, it's similar to Airbnb for everything else, right?
Yeah. Like Airbnb is basically the model I'm building it off, but because for me, that's the inspiration. They're building a share economy for buildings, but I want to try and do it for everything else that we have.
Yeah.
Because there's so much waste being generated.
Yeah.
Now because of our materialism.
Yeah.
And so if we can make any sort of dent in that materialism, if I can stop someone from going and buying something which they're later going to throw out, then I've made a positive impact. And I think that's really that's the vision that I see. Like when someone needs something, the first thing they think of is, I'm going to go to LenderCon. I'll quickly search it, and by the end of the day, they'll have that product picked up from one of their neighbors.
Yeah.
And all of the products we've saved from landfill.
Yeah.
Like I want that to be one of my lasting impacts. Think about all of the carbon emissions, all of the materials that I've saved from going to landfill.
Yeah, so you want these equipments, whatever tools, you want to be reused, right? Between the neighbors, so we can borrow from each other. I mean, again, people wanted to borrow from something from your neighbor, right? But there's no system set up, right? So sometimes, to go and ask your neighbor, can I borrow your lawnmower, for example, you feel guilty, not right? Guilty, because you don't want to ask that because this is his equipment, and so if you have a platform you create, it's officially set up, so you don't have that guilt. You just place, I want to borrow this lawnmower, and that person lending the lawnmower also gets some financial benefit. So so it works like a win-win.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like transactionalizing borrowing. Borrowing definitely already happens within communities.
Yeah.
But as you said, there's a lot of guilt around it. So transactionalizing it and making it a very streamlined process and really making it official, I think is.
Yeah. So, I mean, your vision that you're explaining, so eventually, similar to what Airbnb founders had, right? So, borrowing, you go and kind of staying in someone else's house. So, eventually, rather than we go and purchase cheap quality product, we only purchase very good quality things, because we are not just buying for us.
Yeah.
We're buying for us to share with others.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and then that will reduce the production of, loads of stuff coming from, cheap destinations, and then after 1 or 2 use, it doesn't work. And then you have to throw, you reduce that whole environmental hazard, right? So that's the end result, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be the dream.
Yeah, and then you visualize this will be the platform people will use, right? Like Airbnb, like Cuba. I mean, we all know where we're heading as people. We are all going to that share economy.
Yeah, I think like sustainability has come to the forefront.
Absolutely,
nowadays, and I think that's what makes this a very good opportunity for me, because people are starting to think, how can I be more sustainable?
Yeah.
And if that means rather than going to buy something, I can borrow it and it's just as easy.
Yeah.
Then, and they feel good that they've made an environmentally sustainable choice, and for them it was also easy.
Yeah.
So it's, as you said, it's win-win for people as well.
And I'm sure tools are one area. Can you expand into other things?
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes it such a great idea, because it's almost infinitely scalable.
Yeah.
So whilst I am starting fairly small with like a few product categories, the vision is to expand it to, everything. Oh, I have a party this weekend. I don't have enough tables and chairs.
Yep.
I can go on and hopefully someone in my neighborhood has it, and then I can borrow it from them.
Yeah. I mean, talking about parties, right? We have parties all the time in our place, as you know. Multiple times, we wanted to hire some chairs, right? The hiring cost is higher than what you can buy from cheap something from Bunnings, right?
Yeah.
So what do? End up buying $6 chairs. You can probably use once or twice, and it would crack. Or then you have a bigger problem. What do you do with this all crap, right?
Yeah. And I just want to touch on that, because we had a sustainability lecture. It was our last lecture at Stanford. And I remember the professor saying something, and it's something I totally agree with, where it's, you can make something, a great ethical choice.
Yeah.
But people won't do it unless it's economical.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, as you said, I could maybe hire a chair for, $10 a day.
Yeah.
Or I could buy the cheap crappy one for $6.
Yeah.
As much as people want to say it, people will always go the cheaper one.
Yeah.
Because it's more value, in their
short-term
mind.
thinking, right? I'll get that for this party. That's it.
Yeah. And I consider myself a fairly sustainable person, but I always see myself slipping into that kind of mindset. I think it's just the way that we're wired. And so another part of the goal is to make it more affordable to rent as well. I could go and buy, maybe a drill for $100, the cheap crappy one, or I could rent it for, $5 a day or something on Lendicon. And I think even if you compare that to other traditional rental places, so like here, there's a few like Kennards and things like that. They're very similar to the chair place. They charge quite a high rate. And so if we can find somewhere in the middle there where it's like a win-win still for both parties, and it's economical and it's environmental, then you're like converging on this real solution.
Yeah. Fantastic idea, Dylan. I think there's a long way to go.
Absolutely.
What stage that you are in right now?
We're still very early stages. Platform development is nearly done and just about to go into a local trial.
Yeah.
And then from there, the goal is it's a very much relies on network effects. And so we need to grow outwards from one location, because, if I just start across the entire Australia, someone might go on looking for, you know, a wheelbarrow, and the closest one is in Western Australia, and they live in Sydney.
It doesn't work like
It doesn't
that.
work like that.
Yeah.
So you really need to start on a community by community basis. So starting around Sydney first, and then hoping to expand.
Yeah. Good luck, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure this will be a successful project. Even, you know, if you don't find success, you will have a lot of learning out of it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that kind of goes back to your experience as well. You know, you had a few
Yeah.
failed businesses in there,
Yeah.
and they ultimately led you to a successful one.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to like our course experience.
Yep.
And I want to talk about what you think are the factors. Like if someone else, one of our listeners, is going to go and do this course,
Yep.
what advice would you have them going into this course? Because I definitely know I have a few things that I would touch on. Like,
Why don't you start with your advice?
yeah, so like I think you really need to go into it with a very open mind, because you will learn so much from so many different people, and maybe people that you don't expect as well.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, having that humility to, as we talked about before, know that you're not the smartest person in the room. When you have that humility, people respect that.
Yeah.
If you are the dumbest person in the room and you go in there pretending that you're
Yeah.
the smartest,
Nah. Yeah.
you're never going to
No.
learn anything, and
Yeah.
people don't like that as
Yeah.
well. So having that humility and, you know, understanding it is okay to,
Yeah.
you know, be the dumbest person in the room, I think is a very important factor, especially for me going into it, being surrounded by these type of people. I just had the
Yeah.
humility and said, you know,
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it though. Like I might not know it,
Yeah.
but like give it to me and I'll have
Yeah.
a crack. And I think that's one really important factor. And then going back to, you know, the story of me talking to Roloff, I think just knowing that this experience doesn't come around very often, and so really grabbing it by the horns and just going
Yeah.
all in.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important thing that you need to understand. Hey, I'm not going to be here every day.
Yeah.
This
You can't
is
afford to do that.
Yeah, this is a really, for some people, most people, I'd say it's
Yeah.
a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so really grab it by the horns and make the most of every opportunity. Go to every event that you can.
Yeah.
Really take the classes seriously, and you know, there's so many opportunities
Yeah.
to go and
Yeah.
do slack off and do other things,
Yeah.
but really focus while you're there, and
Yeah.
and yeah, also spend time with your network, because I think, as you said,
Yeah.
network is probably one of the important things from these courses.
Yeah.
So really invest in those
Yeah.
networks.
Yeah. So I totally agree with you, you know, and having that open mind, having a learning mindset is so vital. It's you got to be very authentic. You know, people appreciate that, right? So you don't want to pretend that you're somebody, you know, like, you know, not exactly you, right? So being you, people respect, and especially, you know, your background, you explain, you know, because very first thing we did as a group, we talked about our story, right? I mean, we kind of open up. That gave us really opportunity to open up, right? Like, you know, we got to know each other, as well as we just had the opportunity to open up, and you know, there's no boundaries between us. There's no wall. So that's very important, to be you, bringing that authenticity and genuineness, and people appreciate that, which is good. And one other thing I would say, need to be very prepared. Like before you go, we need to be fully prepared, you know, because these are course-based learning, right? So you need to, case-based, not course-based, case-based learning, and you need to know your cases to get the best out of that session.
Definitely.
If you read the case, and if you prepared and go into these sessions, and you get so much out of it, because you can really get involved in the discussion. And my challenge, even I read the case studies well in advance. By that time that you go there, because it's a 3 weeks course, non-stop every day, that we have 3 to 4 case studies like every day. And you also, as you know, I'm a very social animal, right? Like, so I hang out with so many people, and sometimes, you know, we we go out, we talk till late, and then you're too tired next day, right? Like, so it's okay for a first week that you survive with your uh, prior reading, but then the second week is so exhausted, right? So, but the thing is, right? So it's very good to prepare and available, because the social part is also very important. You shouldn't be just focused on the case studies and the learning. You got to give time to mingle with others, get to know each other, because that's what matters at the end, right? But having that preparation, you done read the case studies and yeah, so that's a really thing that I wanted to do. Like, I mean, I was saying to myself, second time I'll do more case studies, but then exactly the same thing.
Yeah. And I think one thing that we found was like a group of us got together and would read the cases together.
Yeah,
so
we
it's
did
like
the
that's
same.
still like social element.
Yeah.
But also you're getting the work done at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that definitely helps.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think similar kind of things that the learnings and what we do better, and you're building lifelong friendships, right? So you got to really, really breathe in and take that experience, because as you said, this is not something that you're gonna do every day, and just enjoy your time, and that's important thing, and I'm looking forward to this October. I have another 3 weeks in Boston, and meeting all these guys, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, graduation.
And then you guys are coming as well for our graduation party, and it will be awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So I think we'll wrap up here, and if I think we kind of skimmed over a lot of our experience. And gave it at a very high level. So if there's any questions, please feel free to shoot us a message. We have an Instagram page now at The Great Success Pod.
What's what
just
at
just we have an Instagram page now at The Quest for Success Pod. So you can flick us a message there, or otherwise we have an Instagram page now at The Quest for Success Pod, so you can flick us a message there, and any questions we'll try and answer them in a future episode.
Yeah, and it's always we want to hear your feedback and encouragement or discouragement. Whatever feedback that you give, highly appreciated, and we wanted to learn from this experience. And I enjoy talking to Dylan, because this is opportunity for us to connect as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And talk something that we both interested, and be able to share that with other people. I think it's a bonus. And whether you see this as a value thing, or you can learn one or two things, and so that's the whole idea of this session. I mean, if you want to summarize, Dylan, some of the key takeaways from this session, right, for the quest for success, because we are in that search, looking for what are the ingredients for success. So I would say one thing that we discussed about vision. Having that, be able to visualize your success, it's get you faster to achieve that success. So that's something that I thought important ingredient. And Dylan talked about opening your ability to learn, like, so having that, leave that ego side, opening yourself to continue to learn, be the dumbest guy in the room, which is a great thing, because you have the chance to learn from others. So that's an important learning mindset, I would say, which is a important ingredient for success. Anything else that we discuss that you thought important?
I think just having that humility, I think is a really important one, and surrounding yourself to get that energy. I think for me, that was one of the great things, was surrounding yourself with like-minded people. It really fuels you.
Yeah. One thing I could also add, when you're doing something, ask that question always: is this scalable, right? So sometimes we think it's a great idea. this will give benefit to people, and we come up with something. But always ask the question, can you scale it? Like, I mean, we talked about Lendicon idea. Lendicon idea, how I visualize it, when you're saying that idea, you wanted to start as a community lending platform in the local area, and then you can gradually expand that into New South Wales, Australia, and then easily can go global, right? Yep. So that's a scalable opportunity. And then we talked about having a professional job. It's great, but is that scalable? So I mean, maybe as long as you have that vision that you be able to scale, your success can grow, like, bigger. So that's something that I think came out of this discussion, and I think this is awesome. I mean, again, this is unscripted discussion. I mean, I think that's always work, right? When you're not planned.
I think that's one thing that we're kind of trying to stick with as well, because it's a real conversation, and we hope it comes off as very authentic, because this is a one take wonder. But yeah, we'd love to know your thoughts and your feedback. And Jam, I think you also have some special news. I think you're doing the CEO Sleep Out in June. That's correct, isn't it? Yeah,
that's right. So I'm doing CEO Sleep Out to support St. Vincent de Paul, Winnies, we call it. So these guys been a big help when we started early in 1990, and I want to contribute back to support their cause. What these guys doing. They're helping so many people. People don't have place to live. Street people live on the street. So on 20th of June, I'm actually sleeping on street, or just to raise funds. So if anyone can support and contribute or provide some encouragement, that will be amazing.
Yeah, so we'll have the link to Jam's fundraiser in our show notes and on our Instagram page. And without further ado, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you. Catch you later.